What's going on, everybody? So in this section, we are going to talk about the common cold call objections, right? So when you're doing your cold calls, things don't always go as planned. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the common cold call objections that you're going to have and how you can handle it. Now, it's all about understanding the strategy and how and why you handle these objections in a specific way, right? Because sometimes you're not able to predict all the objections someone will give you, but if you have the right framework and you know how to think about objections, well, you can pretty much handle any type of objections, even if you never heard of it before. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Okay, so we are on the cold call script and we're in the section where it's going to be the cold call common objections, right? So we're going to go one by one and you're going to get a feel of how we handle these objections and how you can handle it for yourself. So let's say you're calling a prospect and the prospect says something like, I'm not the right person you should be talking to, right? Maybe you call the wrong person, right? So all you got to do is say something like, okay, that's fair. I guess I'm just a little lost. Maybe you can help me out. Do you know who would be the right person I should be talking to here? And what you're doing in this cold call objection is if you did call the wrong person, or maybe that person just isn't the person you should be talking to about specific software or whatever it is, then you just play the role of, hey, I'm actually a little lost. I need some help. Can you help me out here? They're going to be like, all right, I guess. And then you would ask the question, do you know who would be the right person I should be talking to here? And you could use your own variation of how you speak, right? This is just how I would say it. But essentially the strategy is the same. You acknowledge that, whatever they said, and you ask for help. You say you're a little lost, and then you say, who would be the right person? And then they might say, oh, Sally over in HR is the right person you should be talking to. Then you can call Sally and then you would say, hey, I just talked to John and he let me know that you were the right person to talk to about human management, HR software, or whatever the case is, right? And so you're leveraging the fact that you called the wrong person and then they recommended you to another person, as you can see here. And then from there, you have a warmer conversation. Let's go into another one. Let's say you call someone and they just say, I'm busy right now, right? They don't even want to talk to you, but for some reason they picked up the phone, which is kind of counterintuitive, right? And to respond to that, you say, all right, thanks for letting me know. And when would be a better time to talk for you? And then they're going to say, about what, right? And then you just tell them why you're calling, like we kind of talked about in the cold call script, the one sentence pitch of why you're calling, why you bring value. If they don't ask a question, they say, hey, just call me back tomorrow or something like that. And you'll be like, okay, I'll go ahead and put that on my calendar. You schedule an appointment for tomorrow. Now you have a meeting, right? But if they're just busy and they want to just hang up the phone, you ask this question and you ask them, okay, when would be a better time to talk? They'll say, I'm not interested in this or that, right? And that's an objection. And you kind of just handle that objection. But if you find that they're not a good fit, then you just move on to the next prospect, right? But this gives you, another opportunity in case they just don't want to talk to you right off the bat. Let's go ahead and get to another objection. Is this a sales call, right? I've gotten that before. And here's what you say. I understand why you say that. You probably get sales calls all the time. Now, is this a sales call? Absolutely. But, before there's any selling going on, before I pitch anything or tell you about myself, I really just want to take 5 minutes to learn more about you and your company and your business to see if it makes sense for us to even work together. And, by the end of the call, if we find that there is a fit to work together, great. But if not, totally fine. Does that sound fair to you? So as you can see here, if somebody asked me, is this a sales call? I first acknowledge the fact that they said that. I say that, okay, I totally understand where that's coming from. You probably get sales calls that waste your time all the time, right? Then I say, yes, this is a sales call. So I'm not lying. If I say it's not a sales call, then I would be lying to the person, right? This is absolutely a sales call and I'm confident about it. But before I sell anything, I want to take 5 minutes to learn more about you to see if it even makes sense for us to work together. So when you're doing this, you're being polite. You're not pushing any product down their throat. You're just saying, yes, this is a sales call, but I'm not selling anything right now. I just want to learn more about you and see if it makes sense for us to work together. Does that sound fair to you? And a lot of times they'll be like, all right, fine. You're different from all the other salespeople. What do you got? All right, tell me what it is. And then you start the sales meeting. So that's basically how you would set the agenda. And then you go into your intelligent question and then you ask some questions about their pains and you start the sales cold call. Let's say another objection. Just send me more information. Just send me an email or send me something, right? I don't want to hear this. And then you would say, sure, I could send you some information, but what I found is that people who typically tell me to send them information aren't actually interested at all. Is this the case here? And so if it's really the case, then they're not interested at all, and that's that. But if it's not the case, right, basically what I'm doing is it's like reverse psychology, right? I'm saying like, oh, you only want me to send you information because you're not interested. And they're going to say, well, I didn't say that. Maybe I am interested, but I just don't know why you're calling, right? And so, they might kind of change their stance and want to hear what you have to say by using a little reverse psychology there. And then you can get to the agenda of your call and start the sales meeting. Let's get into the next objection. We're not looking to buy whatever XYZ is right now, right? Whether it's software or whatever it is, or consulting services. And you would say, okay, thanks for letting me know. Now, I know you're not looking to buy right now, but what we found with our clients is that, typically they'll like to learn a little bit more about their options, even if they're not in the market to buy right now. That way, when the time comes to make a decision, they're already educated on what's available on the market and can decide the appropriate budget to set aside to make that decision ahead of time. Does that sound fair to you? Right? So essentially, if someone's not ready to buy right now, true, they may not be ready to buy right now, and no matter how hard you push, they're not going to buy. However, that does not mean that they're not going to be ready to buy 6 months from now, 1 year from now, right? There could be a number of reasons for why they don't want to buy. So that's why you want to say, look, I understand you're not trying to buy right now, but maybe one day you will buy. And one day you might want to know what your decisions are so you can allocate the appropriate budget and whatever it is, right? So how about this? We have a conversation to learn more about your business and see if we're a fit. And then in the future, if it comes time to buy, then, you already know us and we can help you out and we can guide you through the process. But if we find there's not a fit, totally fine. You can kind of move on your way, but now you know what the options are, right? So if someone's not looking to buy, I'm going to say look, you can understand your options so that you're educated on the market so that in the future, if you are ready to buy, then you're good to go. So that's how I would handle that objection. And let's go ahead and go into a couple more. Let's go ahead and get into the next one, right? So let's say they'll say, we already work with a competitor, which is totally normal, right? But it doesn't always mean they're happy with what they got. So here's what you want to say. All right, thanks for sharing that with me. Just curious, if you were to give them a rating from 1 to 10, how happy are you with their service? What would that look like? What would that be? And they're going to say, maybe a 7. And you'll say, okay, interesting. And what would it take for them to become a 10 out of 10? And then now you get your prospect to start talking about the flaws of your competitors. And they might say, they don't integrate with our software, or maybe, no, their software is a little slow and this and that. And then you start asking these questions and you kind of see, are they a candidate to, let's say, replace their software with your software, or, replace their current vendor or competitor with you, right? Because if the pain is big enough, maybe they're willing to do it. So let's say if they said, you asked this question, if you were to give this person a rating of 1 to 10 of how happy you are with their service, what would that be? And they might say, 3. And you say, oh, interesting. Okay, what's the problem? 3 out of 10 is pretty low. And then they'll tell you all the problems, and you could see whether or not they're willing to spend the time and energy to replace your competitor with you. And the lower this number, the more opportunity you have. The higher this number, if they say like 9 out of 10, even if it's 9 out of 10, they might still have some problems, but you might not be able to replace your competitor depending on how hard it is to do that replacement. But at least you kind of understand where they're at and if they're happy or not. Because if they're not happy, it really does open an opportunity for you to actually sell. And so with that said, those are going to be some of the most common objections that I found when it comes to cold calling. And essentially, no matter what objection you get, the format is kind of the same, right? You do the cold call, they have some kind of objection, you acknowledge the fact that they shared information with you, and then you come back with a question that kind of inspires curiosity or dives into a pain point that you can then start a deeper conversation on what those pains are and to see if you can actually solve those problems, right? It's pretty much the same format no matter which the objection is. And so with that said, that's it for the objection handling section, and I'll see you in the next video.